Friends, I'm going to start out today by sharing with you a couple of things that have come up to my awareness online in just the last couple of days. Now, notice that Neiman Marcus, this reporter says they have they use the words dumped, 500,000,000 square feet of office space. 500,000,000 square feet. I can't even wrap my head around how much that is. And listen, whether it's Neiman Marcus themselves or whether it's a whole bunch of square feet of office space that they were leasing from other places, the point is there's 500,000,000 more office square feet that are not rented right now, just to add to the billions of other square feet that the property owners are paying insurance and taxes and upkeep and management, etc. And as a matter of fact, this particular building, notice how it says 10 million in value here. This building, Scott Dawson Evangelistic Group, in September, just 4 months ago, were gifted this office building valued at about 10 million in Birmingham. And that building was vacant for 4 years, tens of thousands a month out of the pocket, bleeding from the property owner. And then they finally got wise and donated. It had a nice tax deduction, and they were smart enough to actually promote the fact that it was donated. So the reason that I'm starting with that today, this is the opportunity for the nonprofits we care about, for the realtors that we care about, for the property owners that we care about. It doesn't matter what type of nonprofit you love or who you want to support. The fact is, all of that vacant property or property that's still occupied can be donated, not for them to move into, manage, and maintain, but donated so that it can be facilitated the way that we do it. And that's what you're here to learn about today, and give the cash to the nonprofit so they can do with it what they want. Now, the Masterclass has been happening since September of 2020. We are very excited that it's been over 3 years of teaching this, and we learn and grow every day. We are by no means done with growing. We've just created the Donate Real Estate button about 4 months ago. That was a long time coming. So we just want to welcome you to coming and learning. What is this charitable gifting of real estate thing? We want you to know after 3 years, we pretty much know what your questions are going to be. They're pretty much going to be answered in the course, but we also want you to feel comfortable raising your hand and asking, because if it's on your mind, it's on somebody else's mind as well. Now we start the book, Real Estate is Hot, Fundraising is Not, and the Charitable Real Estate Masterclass. We started with a warning, with a caution. And what do I mean by that? Friends, you cannot unlearn what you're going to learn today. And as a person who is in 12-step recovery, as we say, a head full of AA and a belly full of booze doesn't mix. In other words, when you know that there's a solution and you're continuing to do the insanity, it just doesn't work. So this is either going to be a blessing. It is a blessing for people who say, holy cow, I've been going to all these fundraising committee meetings for the last 20 years, all these golf tournaments and barbecues and bake sales and ballroom functions and car shows and you name it. I'm selling raffle tickets and asking people to go to my GoFundMe account and all these things. And you're telling me that the same donors that are already supporting the nonprofits I care about can actually 6 times the funding for these nonprofits without all of that? Yeah, that can be a blessing. But guess what? It's also a curse if you know it and you sit on it and you don't tell people. I can't even imagine. Look, I sit on a board. And believe you me, every board meeting, I bring this up. Every time they're talking about this fundraiser and that golf tournament and this GoFundMe account, etc., I am always raising my hand and saying, hey, don't forget, gifts of real estate. Hey, as long as you're doing that fundraiser, don't forget to put this on the flyer. In other words, I personally will not put my head on the pillow tonight knowing that I knew a solution and didn't share it with someone. So that's what we mean when we say this can be a blessing or a curse. So this is that Scott Dawson building. We've already got it in the presentation. And I want you to look at that building and think about this. You know that building. It is in Detroit. It is in LA. It is in San Diego. It is in Miami. It is in Fort Lauderdale. It is in Atlanta. That specific one is in Birmingham. But wouldn't you agree? We all know a building that looks like that. And we all know buildings like that that are vacant and that could be donated. And friends, it is a win-win-win for everyone. It is a win-win-win. And you'll see exactly what I mean by that. Now, we call these legacy listings. Why? Because when real estate is donated, the only way to pull hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of equity out of that property to give to the nonprofit world is to list it. It is a listing just like any listing any realtor's ever had. Only now it is a legacy listing. We actually have a legacy listing month in April, which is a campaign that we are grateful, honored, thrilled to share with you so that people know they can list a legacy listing with the realtors that they know. It's a public service kind of a campaign. Our book, Real Estate is Hot, Fundraising is Not, walks us through the 5 steps, and you're going to learn about those today. 5 steps to leverage real estate for real change. So the first step, or key, as it were, to unlock this funding, the first key is to learn. Just learn what this is. Well, congratulations, you're turning that key right now. You are learning what charitable gifting of real estate is, and whether you're in real estate, in nonprofit, in financial profession, I promise you, you're going to know more today than 99% of your constituents. Guaranteed, hands down. You are learning something today that they just don't know. Now, who takes title, how it's risk-free, what the charitable gifting of real estate button is, how long this has been in the tax code. Friends, honestly, who cares if you're not going to tell people? And that's what key number 2 is about. We start talking about lead generation. Who do you talk to? What do you say? How do you say it? Key number 3 is about listing this real estate. We are listing it so that we can liquidate it and give the cash to the nonprofit world. Now, we do have nonprofits that come who are all about creating homes for homeless. We have a nonprofit we're working with right now that would love to have property donated that they can help people that are disabled with wheelchairs and fitting up and that sort of thing. So if you find real estate that you can maintain and move into and use, and you want to take title to it, by all means, keep it. But what about the other 99.999% of real estate around the country and in other parts of the world that could be listed and liquidated to buy the property that you want to use? That's what we're learning about today. Now, leverage, I'm going to be legally changing my name to Cami C.E. Baker, but sometimes I think of making it Cami C.E. Leverage Baker. I love leverage. How do you bring for-profit and nonprofit together to leverage so that everyone is making money while making a difference? We believe at the Real Agents of Change, making a difference and making money should go hand in hand. They are not mutually exclusive. So we teach how to leverage and bring everyone together, because ultimately the last key is all about leaving legacy. Guys, we want to be able to leave legacy. Isn't that what you're all here for? whether you want to make money or make a difference or do a little bit of both, whether you want to look great to your office because you've got more listings, whether you want to make more money and put your kids through college, whether you want to help more veterans who have PTSD, whatever brings you here is because you're wanting to leave legacy. And we got you. We feel that way too. And that's why we're here today. This is an example of a real estate agent. The woman in the middle is one of our biggest advocates. And she introduced us to that beautiful tall woman who is the executive director of a nonprofit. We did our book launch at their nonprofit. And of course, I'm taking a knee because, friends, it is time that all 1.5 million nonprofits know this should not be held for just the handful of elite that know how this works. No, not anymore. Now that we have a hold of it, we are here to make sure everybody can benefit. We're going to sprinkle in some stories along and along. Some of them will be just a newspaper or an online image. Some will be videos that we'll play while we're taking a break. This is a nonprofit in Sarasota. I went and spent a whole day with them and their board. I went and visited different homes. They do stuff with homeless. And the founder owned 100 properties and owned a real estate company. Duh. So he donated a piece of real estate. Now, let me share with you what today's agenda looks like so that you can kind of plan your time here and know when we're taking breaks. Each section, 45 minutes or so. Section 1 is about the concepts and collaborators. What is all of this? What is donating real estate? Why have I never heard of this before? And we're going to show you 3 ways today that a property owner can benefit a nonprofit from real estate. And in section number 1, I'm going to show you the first 2 ways, which you could think of if you really thought it through. And I'll show you those first 2 in section 1. Now, section 2, I'm going to show you the third way, the win-win-win way, the way that you came here to learn about today. And we're also going to start getting into the weeds about who are the key stakeholders and how does this whole thing go down. Section 3, we're going to talk about specifically bullet points, how this benefits the nonprofits, the property donors, and the real estate professionals and other business owners as well. Section 4, financial advisors. We're going to get in the weeds a little bit about donor advised funds. When we first started this class a little over almost 3.5 years ago now, we didn't have a section about the donor advised fund, but don't glaze over, don't check out. It is important for all of us to understand how this benefits everyone else. Because when we know how this can benefit the financial advisors who bring 65% of these to the table, when we know how it benefits them, it just makes sense that they will help us more. And the good news is, it doesn't matter if people are donating real estate for the right reasons to help the veterans and feed the animals and stop human trafficking, or if they do it because they need a tax deduction. The beauty of it is either way, this is going to benefit the nonprofit world. So we just want to know how it benefits everyone. Now, section 5, what does qualify as a gift of real estate? What are the documents and the details? And how do I know if a property qualifies? That sort of thing. We'll get into that in section 5. And also in that last section of the meat and potatoes is when I give you a side-by-side comparison of a $4.5 million appraised property. Here's what it looks like if they do it the worst way, which is selling it first and then giving money to the nonprofit world, versus the win-win-win way. Side-by-side comparison of the difference in taxes and the difference to the nonprofit world. And then section 6, we're going to talk about, okay, so now that you know what this is, what do you want to do with it? How can you implement this? And here's a little spoiler alert. We got plenty of stuff here that's free. You can take this information and run with it and do whatever you want. You don't need to pay us one red penny. As a matter of fact, if you would just go talk to people and tell them about it, when you find a gift of real estate, we'll turn you on to the right resources, and it doesn't cost anything out of pocket up front to have this real estate facilitated. And we also have ways to help you find the gifts of real estate, to educate and inform the people who love you and support you, and the realtors and the financial advisors and the fundraising professionals. We can help with that part too. So let's go ahead and jump into why are you here? As a matter of fact, I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a moment, and I would like two people that I haven't spoken with yet to just unmute yourself and just tell me what brings you here. Why are you taking this time today to learn about charitable real estate? Who would like to say hello? And I can call names. There you
Hi,
are, Kim.
Tammy.
Hey, go ahead.
I have Brian, our CEO, also on the call, and I was hoping that he could speak, but he's probably multitasking. So, but at least he's on the call, which is great. So, we are here to learn more about. We have a for-profit media company and a nonprofit, and they succinctly work together where they create awareness and education on issues that matter to humanity in 5 key verticals like mental health, animal welfare, digital well-being, social impact, the social contract, and conservation. And in all of those, we have different offerings. We have a film that talks about it. We have, ambassadors for, like, could be, celebrities or influencers that are helping to spread the message. Our company's going public shortly, and we're looking for time savers. That's ultimately what we're looking for, is time savers. And when I think I reached out to you actually on LinkedIn, I thought, how awesome would it be if you don't have a full staff for your nonprofit? How awesome would it be if there was actually a program that worked, and even it worked even when I wasn't like working it, if that makes sense? Because there's only so much time in a day, and when you're in the process where Brian and I are bringing a company public, that is 100% time taker. And then we're also building out our platform, so everything requires time. And since our time is so limited, when you and I initially spoke, it sounded like you had been working like we have for the last 5 or 6 years on a system that actually works after breaking many systems. So if you have something that works, we're just trying to work smarter, not harder. And that's really the bottom line.
Amen. Smarter, not harder, for sure. Now, just like anything else, we have some foundation to prime the pump, right? To get it rocking and rolling. And the fact is, friends, all of you have people on your board, people in your social media, people on your volunteer list, people that you know. And as soon as we just prime the pump by letting them know that this is even a possibility, because they don't know what they don't know, then it can go on autopilot. So thank you for being here, Brian and Kimberly. I really appreciate you guys. Jessica Powers, you had your heart on. Would you like to speak up and say hello? And by the way, everyone, please put your name, your phone number, your email, your website in the chat and share that with each other. Now, we are not here to prospect each other. This is not multi-level marketing. This is not, hey, go check out my website right now. I got a free offer. No, this is collaboration at its best with people that are visionary and forward thinking to leverage for-profit and nonprofit coming together. So please feel free to put your information in there and just, use it wisely. Jessica, did you want to say hello?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everybody. This is actually my 3rd time coming to the Masterclass, and I learned something new or have something click every time. And I do have some guests with me today to learn more with some of their legacy projects or just collaborations we're already working on. So Cherie, Dr. Akala, and Jay, good to have you here. And I'm excited about what they're going to learn today and how this is going to be eye-opening. And also, I just lit up about the marketing social impact things that was just being shared, because that also ties into things we're working on together. So great to be here.
Thank you, Jessica. And you're absolutely right. I mean, we've got a media company with Kim and Brian. Jessica and I are working with a guy who can help fund nonprofits and pay anyone up to 10% of the funding that they help bring to the table for that nonprofit. And that's great when it's $50 or $500. But when you're talking about a gift of real estate, $500,000, and you can get 10% of that. Now, we don't have that in writing yet. I'm just telling you the vision and the types of people that we are bringing together here. So let me get back and continue to share the screen and show you guys what you're all here to learn about. Okay, so Certified Charitable Real Estate Specialist is a designation that we have created, and some of you are going to want to get certified. Great. It's a $400 investment. No big deal. We'll talk about that at the end. You can always go to our website and do that if that's something you want to do. We actually give it as a bonus when you do get the donate real estate button and the cause marketing packages that we do. But ultimately, when you get certified, Dr. Russell James would tell you that it strengthens relationships, because now, instead of just being a real estate agent or a realtor, you're an advisor to the wealthy. And nonprofits, instead of just having your hand out for cash, like 99% of other nonprofits, now your nonprofit can be a certified charitable real estate specialist as well and have a charitable real estate division, CRED, credibility. Man, we're creative. Anyway, you can gain access to high net worth individuals with multiple properties. Dr. James would tell you that when a person donates real estate, historically, they will, guys, take notes. If you don't have pen and paper out, shame on you. Get it. Because when someone donates real estate, within a year, they usually donate a second piece. Why? Because they didn't know they could do this, and they didn't know how hard or easy it would be, and they didn't know, like they didn't know the benefits of it. But once they've experienced it with a team that this is all they do and it's super easy, they'll do it again. And they donate more cash. So more stories about that coming. Full commission is all about the real estate professionals. And you guys are going to hear me say that a lot. Full commission, full commission. What does that mean? Here's why we say it that way. We want the real estate professionals to know, just because people are giving real estate away, just because the nonprofit world is getting funded, does not mean we want you to do it for a discount. It doesn't mean that we want you to give a donation. No, we want to give the realtor their full commission, because the average gift from a piece of real estate is $600,000 to the nonprofit world. When the nonprofit world is getting over $500,000, they don't need the realtor's 10% of their $8,000. Friends, this is a whole different ballgame. So this is all about getting more introductions and more commissions and more referrals from the perspective of, this is a sophisticated, savvy, interesting conversation. And no matter what industry you're in, those that are your colleagues and constituents are not having this conversation. So when you're having it, you bet your sweet patootie, you're going to be introduced to more people. Now, here's what you're going to learn today. Donations of real estate are happening. Been happening for 100 years, $9 billion a year. They're happening. They're just not happening for you. Let's fix that. You're going to learn the 3 ways that a property owner can benefit a nonprofit with the proceeds from real estate. And you're going to learn why one is the worst, one is the hardest, and one is the win-win-win way. You're going to learn why you've never heard of this before. At least not the 3rd way you haven't heard of. You're going to learn why donors are trying to give real estate away, and who these donors are and where you find them. So pay attention, where that's what you're here for. You're going to learn how you can be the hero that the community needs, whether you're the real estate agent that's holding that big 6-foot check, but instead of it being $1,800, maybe now it's $1.8 million. to the nonprofit world. Or it could be that you're the hero whose media company is saving those 5,000 animals a day that are being euthanized. So whatever it is for you to be a hero, guess what? This is how you can do it, because this is where the funding can happen. And this is the biggest, boldest social impact campaign, social responsibility, corporate social responsibility. Friends, we all see corporations doing things in the community. And yes, they are good people and they want to do the right thing. But let's be real honest. The reason that they are doing it is because it makes them look good to the consumer, customer, and potential client. And that is why they're doing it, for the majority of the reason, because they're building their business that way. This is a business development tool, period, hands down. Now, you're going to have questions. I want you to feel free to raise your hand and ask, keeping in mind that I don't want to get too pulled off during a section, but if you pop it in the chat during the break, in between sections, I'll go through and look at the chat and answer any questions. When we have time, I will show a case study. I'll put it on time and a half where I'm interviewing our specialized nonprofit about different real estate donations that have happened to give you ideas. But please feel free to put your questions in the chat. You can unmute and ask me, but just know that about 95% of your questions will be answered during the presentation today. All right, we get a sip of water and we'll jump in. Concepts and collaborators. People want to know, what's the difference between the real agents of change and the specialized nonprofit? Who are all the stakeholders? How does this whole thing happen? What is donated real estate? People donate real estate? Who are these players? And what are those first two ways? Now, I'm going to come up with a scenario. I'm just going to play with a scenario today. And we're going to use that scenario throughout the class just to keep it fun and simple. So the first way, we've got Kim and Brian here, and they have a media company. They have a for-profit and a not-for-profit. I know for a fact they love animals. I love animals. We're going to use that part of their business model. Someone loves their nonprofit, wants to help animals. They're based out of Florida. Let's say that there's a donor in Texas who has an office building in California. And that donor loves animals. They love what Kim and Brian are doing. They got his property all the way over in California. Now, in the first scenario, this donor sells that property in California, pays all the taxes, et cetera, and ultimately, it is the worst way to do it because let's say it's a $5 million property, just round numbers, $5 million property. It's got a $1 million mortgage on it, and they want $1 million in their pocket, which means there's $3 million in equity, give or take any holding costs, right? But there's $3 million that can go to Kim and Brian's nonprofit. But in this scenario, the government's going to get a big chunk of that money. It could be almost as much as $1 million just in capital gains, depending on their tax bracket. So if you love the government, if you work for the government, please do it this way. Government receives the most money. The donor is going to get the least amount of tax advantages because they can't write off that capital gains. They can't write off the commission. They can't write off the holding cost or any of that stuff this way. The nonprofit ultimately is going to receive the least amount of money because all those expenses that are going to the government and elsewhere are definitely not going to be going to the nonprofit world. Friends, this is what people do when they don't know any better. This is what people do when they are lazy. This is what people do when you sit in this class and you learn that there's a better way, but you don't tell people. This is why it's a curse if you learn about this and don't do anything with it. So this first way is just the worst way. People used to ask us, well, why don't they just sell it and then give part of the money to the nonprofit world? But now that we've implemented the first, second, and third way, it's pretty clear. This is the worst way to do it. Now, here's the second way. Now, remember, we've got a donor in Texas. He's got a $5 million property in California. He wants to donate the proceeds to Kim and Brian in Florida. Well, the second way is if that donor donates the property directly to Kim and Brian's nonprofit. Here's the problem with that. First of all, we've got a $1 million mortgage. We all know here that real estate can exchange hands if there's a lien on it. So that $1 million mortgage has got to be paid off, number one. Number two, in our scenario, the donor wants $1 million in their pocket in cash. So Brian and Kim would have to come up with $2 million to pay off the mortgage, to give them $1 million to be able to take title to begin with. Because that donor, in order to get the tax benefits they're looking for, the property has to exchange hands with a 501c3 or a 508. We're going to get into those details in a minute. But now, Kim and Brian in Florida got this property out in California. They're responsible for the maintenance and the upkeep and the taxes and the insurance and all the things that can happen with the property. And what if at the last minute that donor says, you know, I love what you're doing with the animals, but now that I think about it, I'd like to give maybe 20% to my church, and I'd like to give maybe 20% to this veteran group over here. Well, now their nonprofit borrowed money, did all these things to get this property sold, and now they're being asked to share in the proceeds. The thing is, just like Kim said earlier, they don't have the time for that. They don't have the talent. Now, they're very brilliant people, but they don't have a real estate team just sitting around to take this over. And the treasure of the $1 million mortgage and the $1 million cash, they just don't have all that stuff. And friends, here's what we know after 4 years in speaking with thousands of nonprofits and interviewing and becoming experts ourselves and writing a book, Real Estate's Hot, Fundraising's Not, 99.9% of nonprofits won't do it. They will not do it. And frankly, we are not suggesting that any of them would. I sit on a board of a nonprofit. I wrote the book on the topic. There are board members on that board that are presidents of boards of real estate and that own real estate companies with thousands of realtors. With all of that talent, I would never suggest that that nonprofit do it this way, because it is the hardest way. It's time consuming and board meetings, and somebody's got to pull some money out of their pocket, and somebody's got to hire the realtor, and just all the things that need to happen. This is the hardest way. Now, Jim Wooten is a friend of The Rock. He wrote a book called Real Estate Gift. And if you go to therock.com/Jim Wooten, I can share it with you later on if you really want to read his book. He's brilliant. He's been doing it this way for 30 years. But it's the hardest way. And that's why he was excited to meet us a year and a half or so ago. So here is why real estate owners are trying to donate real estate. Here is why we believe that 99.9% of nonprofits are turning real estate down, and therefore the funding from it. And this is why charitable real estate specialists and champions, as we call ourselves, are able to help all of them to get funded. Now, before I get into the third way, which is going to be in the second section, I need to take a big step back and give some foundational definitions of what a gift of real estate is to begin with. So please bear with me as I bring some building blocks together so that we're all on the same page moving forward. So there is a connection between philanthropy and real estate and the IRS tax code. Philanthropy and the IRS tax code. So let's get some definitions down, because people have said to me over the years, I'm not a philanthropist. I'm no Bill Gates. Well, philanthropy simply means the love of mankind, humanity, giving of our time, talent, and treasure. And the fact is, you're here. And wouldn't we all agree that the most valuable thing we have is time? So the fact that you're here right now tells me you're a philanthropist. And I want you to think about that as we're moving forward, because people will say in their scarcity mindset, well, I don't know anybody that would donate real estate, and people on our donor list wouldn't donate real estate, and my friends wouldn't donate real estate. And don't people want to give their real estate to their kids? Friends, if it is true that your time is the most valuable thing that you have, and it is true, I would say that there are people that don't have the valuable time to give that you do to creating a nonprofit or volunteering for a nonprofit or sitting on a board of a nonprofit, because their time is more valuable than the stupid office building that they can't take with them to heaven anyway. Just on my soapbox about that. Okay, 501c3. This is important because you're going to hear us say nonprofit, 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 nonprofit. Nonprofit is really a bigger conversation than a 501c3. So this is a designation. Also, 508 is a church. So these two designations by the IRS code are the two that when someone donates cash or real estate or cryptocurrency or art or a racehorse or whatever, and when they donate a car, when they donate something of value, the donor gets a tax deduction. And I say this because, for example, the Board of Realtors is a nonprofit, but they are a 506, meaning that they don't pay federal taxes. They're a nonprofit. And if when a realtor pays their board dues, they write that off as a business expense, but they don't write it off as a charitable gift. So when we say nonprofit in this class and any other time, what we're talking about is a 501c3 and a 508. And the tax deduction was created in 1917. US government said, how can we incentivize them to actually want to help all these causes and charities? Oh, you know what? If they give them some money, we will give them a break on their taxes. And so when we tell you that the gifting of real estate's been happening for over 100 years, this is what we're talking about, because people can donate cash, but they can also donate real estate. And it has been happening since 1917. And the reason for that is to incentivize folks to be generous. So let's pull all that together. Charitable gifting of real estate, a charitable gift of real estate to a qualified nonprofit, 501 or 508. Now, provides the nonprofit an asset it can sell to fund its programs. Remember what I said earlier. If the nonprofit wants to keep it, if they want to take title, Scott Dawson in Birmingham took title to that $10 million office building. They are teaching evangelists to bring the word of the Lord out to the world. They needed a ginormous office building. So that's great. If you want to keep the building, what we're teaching here is there's so much real estate all over this country, and in some cases, other places in the world. And the reason I say it that way is because if a taxpayer in the United States citizen is paying taxes on the sale of their condo in Paris, then they could donate that condo in Paris and avoid capital gains here. Therefore, it would be a donation of real estate the way that we define it. So, don't have to sell it, can take title, but we're encouraging people to think way further outside of the box than just the house next to the church, or just the perfect 3-family in town to put those human traffic victims in, because it might be really, really hard to get that one building owner to donate that building. But if you have a property across the country donated and you receive $5 million, you can buy that property if you want it. Okay. Now, this entitles the donor to a tax deduction against their adjusted gross income, meaning it's not just avoiding capital gains, it is the appraised value as the basis for their tax deduction off of their adjusted gross income. Now, remember, in Section 5, we're going to do a side-by-side comparison, and that's going to be really important. And of course, if the asset is appraised, they are able to avoid the capital gains on anything they donate. Now, in our example of the $5 million piece of property in California, $1 million mortgage, $1 million cash in their pocket, they're going to pay capital gains and taxes on that $2 million because that is capital that they gained. So it sounds simple enough, meaning, okay, there are people around the country that have been donating real estate for over 100 years and they want to help a nonprofit. Okay, what's the big deal? Well, it is the nonprofits themselves that are stopping charitable gifting of real estate from happening, and here is why. Now, no expertise is a big, big problem. So Salvation Army, as an example, brings in about 2,000 gifts of real estate a year. They have real estate teams, several of them all over the country. Catholic Church has real estate teams. The Nature Conservancy has been taking real estate for decades. They have a real estate team. But when you're looking at 1.5 million nonprofits, the handful that have a real estate team is less than a half of a percent. And even those with expertise, like the board that I sit on, very, very smart real estate expertise, even the author of the book on the topic. What about the capital? Who's going to pay off that mortgage? Who's going to put their name on the tax bill and the insurance bill and the water bill and the maintenance bill? The fact is, no capital for all the upfront expenses and all the holding costs. That's another big hurdle as to why they don't take real estate. Now, this whole thing about mission drift. There's a Boys and Girls Club in Florida that I've talked to a couple of times, and they took a golf course many years ago. They themselves took it and they sold it, and it took them over a year, and it took every person and every hour that they had to get that property sold. And they were so diverted from their mission, they were so off mission, that they said they will never, ever, ever do real estate again. They are so burnt and jaded, you can't even get past their bad experience. They want to help those kids. They don't want to do real estate. Mission drift. We don't want Kim and Brian drifting off their mission. We want them helping the animals and doing the things that their nonprofit was created to do. Now, lots of people have heard of bad experiences. We get it. There have been a lot of bad experiences when the nonprofit is taking title themselves and trying to figure this whole thing out, just like that Boys and Girls Club did. Now, some nonprofits will tell you that they take real estate, but it's on a very limited basis. So, for example, there are community foundations. There's about 600 of them nationwide. And most of them would tell you, yeah, we'll take real estate. But if you really dig a little bit deeper, they'll only take it if it's local in their community. They'll only take it if it's mortgage free and lien free. They'll only take it if it's vacant. In other words, the moon has to be full and the tide has to be high. So limited. What about the other 99.99% of real estate all over the country and all over the world? And the majority of nonprofits have it written right in their bylaws. We do not take non-cash assets, and especially not real estate. Oh, no. And you know what, friends? The way that we do this, we're not asking any nonprofit to change their bylaws. Why? Because you're not taking the real estate. We don't want you to take the real estate. We are suggesting you not take real estate. What we are suggesting is you start to educate your donors that you can benefit from it. The language that we use is very specific. See, overall, this is a very risky, complicated thing. Nonprofits won't do it. 99.9% of them won't. But the real reason that they're not benefiting from gifts of real estate is because they don't know how we do it. And that is why it is either a blessing for you to tell them or a curse when you don't. Now, you keep hearing me say 99.99% of them don't. Well, what about those that do? I'm going to pop up a few of the logos here of nonprofits that do take gifts of real estate. And some people have asked, well, if these take real estate and you want to help nonprofits take real estate, why would you be sharing this? Friends, we hope that you will do your due diligence. We want you to do your due diligence. I hope that you, not right now, stay with me. You can Google all you want in a couple hours. But these are some of those that you'll find. Nature Conservancy, been doing it for decades. Cars for Kids is a great example. Let's use those for a second. Your donors on your donor list are going to learn about this. Realtors, financial advisors, business owners, your customers and clients are going to learn about this. And when any of them Google and find Cars for Kids as an example that will accept real estate, if they want a tax deduction, congratulations, winner, winner, chicken dinner, they just got their tax deduction. Here's the problem for you. Your nonprofit's not getting the funding. Your real estate agents aren't getting paid a full commission. Your community, your business isn't looking good by bringing it to their attention. Your community's not bringing in hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars to fix your communities and veterans and children and all that stuff. Why? Because Cars for Kids just got it, and they're a great organization, good for them. But the point is, we believe that all nonprofits should be able to benefit from this. So don't let these take your funding, take your thunder, take your glory when you could be benefiting as well. And this is why the Real Agents of Change and the certifications and the champions, this is why we were created, because we believe that all 100% should benefit. We believe in giving the gift of choice. We think that donors deserve to choose who gets the money for their hard-earned real estate. We believe that instead of sitting around waiting for someone to randomly show up at a real estate office to donate real estate, or randomly show up and ask your philanthropic department at your nonprofit if you take real estate, we believe that we can all just be proactive. Just be proactive and tell people, let them know, have the intelligent conversation. And let me, as a side note, what better way to build relationships with those folks than to let them know that you have a charitable real estate division, that you care enough about them and their choices, that you have a division to have this conversation. Now, let me just share for maybe 5 minutes or so the story of what brings us here today. Because with all of this being said, if this has been around for 100 years, why have you never heard of it before? All these factors, why are you hearing about it now? Well, here's why you're hearing about it now. I just took this photo in July last year when I was in Jacksonville, Florida. This was my first business. And you might be thinking, so what? I've owned a convenience store before. I have had many businesses. What's the big deal? Well, this is what I looked like when I was running the business out of that store. You see, there's an elementary school right across the street from this store. And when I was 8 years old, I had gum in my pocket. The other kids had quarters in their pocket. And I realized if I stopped at this store and brought extra gum to school, I could exchange my gum for their quarters and I would get a 500% markup. And by the time I was 9 years old, I was now loan sharking to other kids at high interest and holding collateral to make sure they pay me back, or I get to keep their coin collection or whatever they had. So I've always seen opportunity, even at the ripe old age of 8. And charitable gifting of real estate is simply the opportunity that I saw 4 years ago. So when I was a real estate agent, this was my first headshot when I was a real estate agent. This is my daughter. She's 25 now. She was about 8 then. So that kind of dates what we're talking about here. As a single mother, newly in sobriety, new to sobriety, I had just moved from Florida to New England. Of course, why not go ahead and get a real estate license? And one of the reasons I did was because I wanted to go on her field trips and to be more active in her life. I wanted to be active in the community. I wanted to be able to set my own salary, as it were, and do my own thing. So I started with Remax, and I was creative and guerrilla marketing and savvy and go get it enough to bring the hot air balloon. We brought the hot air balloon to a couple of different events, and I'd get the mayor and the media, etc., out there. Over the years, I ended up hanging my license with Century 21. They said, hey, we'll do a TV show with you if you'll hang your license over here. I said, great. We did the Real Estate Roadshow. And I share this experience with you because it was this experience in real estate, door knocking, cold calling, going on thousands of listing appointments, HGTV, 2 shows. One of them was House Hunters, that led me to having this car, which was my dream car I bought with my first big commission check. And this car led me on the path of social responsibility, because with that car, I started doing car shows and parades and raising money for nonprofits. And honestly, in the beginning, it was just to build my business, just to be seen and get some exposure. But over time, I learned that even when people didn't care about Cammie Baker or real estate, they loved that we were helping Ronald McDonald or Make-A-Wish or the Live and Let Live Farm and rescue horses, etc. So I started to become known for this social impact thing. And I started then getting hired by for-profits to teach them how to leverage their for-profit to help nonprofits so that they could build business while making a difference. This image is Karen. She was a president of a board of realtors. She hired me to be her mentor to do some cause marketing. We gathered up 8,000 diapers for women who were coming off opioids. This is Jacksonville Real Estate Investor Association. They flew me down to talk about the first book there, which is Mingle to Millions. I actually spoke for them back in July. Now I've got a picture with all of them holding my new book. I need to put that on here. But I had clients that were hiring me to leverage for-profit and nonprofit, making money, making a difference. We did stuff for Habitat for Humanity with real estate company owners. We created Realtors for Recovery with the president of the board. We did coat drives in Boston. Are you kidding me? It's freezing there right now, which is why I ain't there. But we gathered up, gosh, thousands of socks and gloves and hats. We did stuff for animal rescue leagues, and we did poker runs, and we packed boxes to send to our heroes overseas. And the reason that I'm sharing all this with you is because it was that set of glasses. It was the filter of real estate and nonprofit experience that was the glasses that I was seeing charitable real estate through back in December of 2019. When I very first saw this, I was at a conference and the speaker mentioned charitable gifting of real estate. And with all that experience I just shared, I was like, how come I've never heard of this? How could I possibly have been a realtor for 20 years and doing all these fundraisers and Ronald McDonald and Make-A-Wish and everybody damn else and never heard of this? And so my very first thought was, this is a great niche for realtors. And So we started to create this class. The specialized nonprofit, whom I'll introduce you to in just a moment, helped to create this class with all this wonderful information that you're learning about. We did a book launch at that first one that I showed you when we're holding the sign, and we're written up in the Business Observer, which led to Goodwill calling us and saying, hey, we've got 200 nonprofits that need to know about this. Can you teach them? So that's the history of what brings us here today. It was the interesting filter that I saw it through. Now, as an example, this is another building. Please notice, these are not, even the Scott Dawson building, right? These are not like abandoned gas stations in the middle of nowhere. These are properties that people donated, whether they needed a tax deduction or whether they loved the mission of the nonprofit, completely irrelevant. Nonprofit benefited. Now, before we get into section number 2, I would like to see if anyone has a question or two. Happy to help with that. And I'm going to actually play a case study. I'm going to put it on time and a half to bang through it, but we'll all take a potty break and have a case study. Anybody got a question? And if you don't, that's okay. There's a lot more to learn for sure. All right. Let me need to share screen, share sound, share. Now, notice where I'm going to go to get these videos because you all have access to this. therock.com/Cami, which some of you might have already gone to. You can go here and get a free digital download of the book. This is some of my speaker points. Roadmap, we'll be talking about that in a little bit. Both of those articles that I mentioned are both here that you can read. This is where you get the book. Donor guide, we'll be talking about that in a little bit as well. This is where people can fill out a property evaluation form. For any of you that get the donate real estate button, the ebook and this property evaluation form is part of that package. But where I'm taking you is down to the bottom of my page. So therock.com/Cami, you can come here and do all the due diligence research in hours that you want. What I'm going to click on right now is the donations link. And I'm just going to play one of the stories so that you meet the, oh, I see I've got a raised hand. Akala, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that right. Please unmute yourself and let me know what your question is.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for putting this on. Jessica Powers is the one who invited me, so I'm happy to be here. My question is that I'm not going to be able to stay for the whole thing. And I when I came in, you did say that we can leave and all those good things. But my question is this going to be, I see it's being recorded. Will we have access to this so I can catch the last part of it? Because this is awesome. Thank you so much for putting this together.
It is being recorded. Typically, what we do is we let people come for free when they come live so that we can meet them. Usually the recorded version is something that is purchased on our website, but because you are a friend of Jessica's, I want to make sure that you get the recorded version. You're not going to get this particular version, but we do have a recording on the website, and I'll make sure that Jessica can get that to you. It's the same basic information, other than the very end where we have created the donate real estate button, which is relatively new, but I'll make sure you get everything that you need.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm really excited about doing business with y'all in the future. This is awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you for asking. So friends, I'm just going to play this video because I think it's really important that you see all the players of who you're going to be working with. So this is Bruce Geis of Realty Gift Fund. When you hear me in the next section refer to specialized nonprofit over and over and over, this is who we're referring to. Now, there's about a half a dozen of them that we've met over the years that we could pick and choose from, but these are certainly our favorite vendors and partners. They're the best in the industry. So here we go. I'm going to take a little potty break. If you want to take a potty break, just put this on loud and you can listen to. Here we go. Well, we may watch it, we may not. Sometimes this happens. Hmm. Let me try it one more time. Let me just pick a different one. Today's story about a donation of real estate is apropos to examples that I give a lot, where the donor lives in one state, the property is in another state, and the nonprofit receiving the proceeds is in yet another state. So these donations happen all over the country for all nonprofits. Bruce, what is this one all about?
Well, that's a good introduction, Tammy, and let me just say that Realty Gift Fund, which is a national nonprofit, very small in terms of number of people, super efficient. We have, all the parts that we need to do, is almost as much capacity as you could ever throw at us. But it's because we are so experienced in dealing with real estate all over the country. We always have done that. And you and I have talked in the past about how certain nonprofits might say, oh, yes, we have taken gifts of real estate. And just as, you're in Florida, let's just say the nonprofit is in Miami. And a donor in the community walks in and says, I'd like to give you my home, my investment home, loaded up with capital gain taxes and all that. It'd be very efficient for me to just gift the asset to you. And, it's literally within 10 blocks of the headquarters of the nonprofit. No debt, no big issues, hire a broker, sell the property, done. The nonprofit can do that and they don't need Realty Gift Fund, okay? Where nonprofits get in trouble or they get stuck is when what's being offered to them is really outside of their capabilities. And one of those boundaries outside of their capabilities is geographic, right? So this little story is a simple story about a very modest gift. And I love these modest gifts because you and I have talked about this before. This is a piece of residential land in a small community south of Tucson that's probably within 10 miles of the Mexican border. Beautiful community on a river. We've had a lot of rain in the Southwest this past summer. Green like Ireland. The cottonwood trees, rising up out of the riverbanks. An artist community that in this case has a section of the community that is kind of rural, kind of not beautiful, not a lot of trees, it's up higher, what have you. And there's this 20-acre parcel that is zoned residential, and this woman would like to make a donation. Its value at best is $200,000, okay? This is not a $6 million gift like we sometimes do. Our average gift this year is on track to be $1 million. This is a $200,000 something. But I love this one because this woman is so enthusiastic. She lives in northern Utah. And she is a huge fan and actually goes to Chicago frequently to attend the performances at the Lyric Opera of Chicago. Jay and I, who have created Realty Gift Fund, are from Chicago. We know the Lyric Opera and the importance of it to that beautiful city. And so here is an example of a nonprofit that has very smart people working for it who could take a gift of real estate if it maybe were in the boundaries of the Chicago boundaries and kind of simple, right? But here are the donors in Utah, and the property is in Tubac, Arizona, population, 850 people. Where are the buyers for a 20-acre piece of land? We have said we don't care who the buyers are in this case. We are going to accept your gift, Cheryl, and we're going to own it as long as we have to get the best value we can from a sale so that we can benefit a nonprofit that we know because we grew up in Chicago. And it's just a deal that these guys who we have talked to on numerous occasions at the Lyric Opera, very smart people, just are uncomfortable doing. That is Realty Gift Fund's role, okay? We do it very efficiently, as we've told you. So the Lyric Opera is going to get the bulk of what we sell this property for.
Now, where did Cheryl come from? Did the Lyric Opera actually put out a request looking for real estate? How'd she find you?
No, this is a typical case, Tammy, of a nonprofit that is very good at its fundraising. I really have a great admiration and know a lot of people who are in the fundraising business, and they do something I can't do. They know how to draw donors to the cause and get them interested in projects and in growth and then the programs and what have you. And donors who support nonprofits have a connection with those nonprofits that's thicker than blood. And that is, in this case, our donor from Northern Utah has this thicker than blood relationship with the Lyric Opera in Chicago. And the Lyric Opera in Chicago doesn't take gifts of real estate very often. They have done it, but they called us a year and a half ago on a gift that didn't make for one reason or another. The donor just turned out not to be ready, but we got to know them and they got to know us. And so it was a relationship that we had created. And this world that we live in is all about relationships. Gifts of real estate is major giving. This goes to the major gifts officer at the nonprofit. The average residential gift, as you know, is about $550,000. The average commercial gift is about $900,000. This is not an email, a text message, a Facebook post. This is a lunch and a hug, and I know your kids' names, and I know where you went to school, and I know how you're doing, and we care about how you're doing. They care about each other. So these are major relationships. And the Lyric Opera made a good call. They said, look, we can accept this gift if we collaborate with Realty Gift Fund, who does better at what they do than what we do. We'll do what we do really well, and they'll do really well at what they do. And guess what? Cheryl is happy as a clam. We're closing on the donation, but today's Wednesday, we're closing on Friday.
And by closing, you mean you're accepting the gift, because as our viewers know, the donation of real estate is a two-step process. There's the donation to Realty Gift Fund, and then there's Realty Gift Fund selling it to the end user, which then provides the funding to the nonprofit world. So,
You're right.
did Cheryl let that nonprofit know that she had real estate, and then they reached out to you? She just
Yes.
randomly came up with it?
Yes. That's apparently what happened. Oh, although I'm quite certain that the Lyric Opera lets its donors know that they accept gifts of real estate. So Cheryl bit on that fly and said, I'd like to learn more. That's all you ever are trying to do. If you are a nonprofit or if you're a financial advisor.
So friends, I am going to go ahead and jump back in to the next section of the class. There are 14 or so case studies that you can watch at your leisure. Just want to show you an example. Might show another one here and there, but we want to stay on track. We got a lot of valuable information here. So let's rock and roll with section number 2. Here's where we start jumping into the good stuff, what you came here to learn about. So let's go. Here's the third way. Now remember our scenario. We got Kim and Brian with a nonprofit in Florida. We got a donor in Texas. We got a $5 million property out in California, $1 million mortgage, $1 million in cash in their pocket. Now, the first way, if that property owner sold that property and then gave money to the nonprofit world, it is the worst way, because the government is getting more than they deserve, period, end of story, which means the nonprofit's getting the least amount and the donor's getting the least amount of tax benefits. Don't do that. Number 2 is they donated the real estate directly to Kim and Brian. Holy moly, what a nightmare. What an overwhelming, time-consuming, hard thing to do. So, what do we suggest? Here we go. The Real Agents of Change is a for-profit organization who has put together a handful of experts, one of which you just saw, and the specialized nonprofit, takes title to the real estate, which is why this is risk-free for any nonprofit. There is no money out of pocket to handle these transactions, meaning when that property owner is introduced to the specialized nonprofit and they decide, yes, this is a good donation, there's plenty of meat on the bone, meaning there's enough equity to go to the nonprofit world, we believe that it's marketable and it's sellable, we'll take that donation. Didn't cost the nonprofit or anyone any money. Now, the specialized nonprofit gets a tiny piece on the back end, and we're going to talk about that as we progress, but it is so fractional compared to paying capital gains or, God forbid, some of the horrible fees that I have heard about in the industry. Now, capital is available. So if the property needs to be fixed up, it doesn't have to be perfect. We have examples of properties that maybe it was a big strip mall and the parking lot needed to be resurfaced, or maybe they needed to put a tenant in and it took a few months to do that type of thing to increase the value of the property. Now, the reason that our scenario is that there's $1 million mortgage is because we want you to know the property does not need to be free and clear. And the reason that with our scenario, the donor is getting $1 million cash in their pocket is because we want you to remember the donor does not have to donate the full value. They can pull cash out. The donor receives the full array of tax benefits immediately. Now, we're already in January at the time of this recording. However, October, November, December, this is super important because they can donate that real estate in October, November, December, get their tax benefit, even though the property doesn't close until the next year, presumably. It's okay. They still got their tax deduction that year. So with this win-win-win way, the donor gets the most tax advantage, the nonprofit gets the maximum donation, the realtor gets paid a full commission, the businesses are able to be seen as socially impactful, all 100% of the nonprofits. And remember, nonprofit for us is a 501c3 or a 508 church. This is the win-win-win way. And I'm just going to say that one of the biggest objections that we hear is, sounds too good to be true. And a friend of mine who does a business that's really good said, well, can't we just ask them, how bad does something have to be for you for it to be true? But in all seriousness, there is no way to poke holes in it. It is what it is. We didn't invent charitable real estate. We didn't invent the specialized nonprofit. We were just smart enough to bring it to your attention. And that this is the win-win-win way. Okay, now we're going to shift gears and we're going to get into who the stakeholders are and how an actual donation goes down. So Bruce would call these the key stakeholders. He's a little more formal than I am. I call it the triangle of trust. So in order to have a donation of real estate, you got to have a donor. And a donor can be a private individual or a corporation. Advisors. Now, in our world, an advisor is anyone who has clients that own real estate that they advise. That could be an insurance person. It could be a real estate agent. It could be an attorney. It could be a CPA or a tax accountant, etc. Of course, the advisor in this case is the one that is helping to liquidate the property. But tax accountants, attorneys, once again, if a profession is advising property owners, they're part of the process. And of course, the nonprofit can't have a donation, a tax deductible donation, without a nonprofit. Public charity, donor advised fund, which we're going to talk about in section 4, life income tools. People ask about that, charitable remainder trust and different things. Just know that in this class, we're giving you the big umbrella conversation that charitable gifting of real estate is a thing, that it's possible, that any nonprofit you love can benefit this way. We don't drill down into charitable remainder trust and all that more nuances. We have a saying, do what you do best and refer the rest. We refer all those questions to the experts that do that for a living. So, key stakeholders, the donors are a yes. Yes to what? Well, they're a yes to donating real estate. Now, we do not convince, we do not sell the donor on donating real estate. I don't think you could convince someone to donate real estate. What we do is we provide information and education so that they know what their options and opportunities are. And for the right people, they are a hell yes. Thank you. Just like the last story we heard. The advisors are a yes. Now, real estate agents, totally clueless. No idea that this is even happening. Financial advisors, 99% of them, totally clueless too, even though the majority of gifts do come from really educated, highly sophisticated financial advisors, the majority of them, they certainly don't know how we do it. But when they learn how we do it, of course they're a yes. They have clients that need tax deductions. They have clients that are philanthropic. And when we teach them how that they can leverage this as a business development tool, they're a yes. Friends, it is the nonprofits that are the no. For all the reasons that we've already talked about. It is complex, it is risky. They don't have the money for it, they don't have the expertise, they don't want to drift off mission, they've heard bad stories, they've got gift acceptance policies that block them from receiving, and ultimately they won't even ask for it and they turn it down when it's offered. So they will say things like that Boys and Girls Club that I talked to a couple of times. Look, we took a gift of real estate. We'll never do that again. Or they're like a community foundation who says, well, we'll accept it, on a limited basis if the moon is full and the tide is high and if there's no cash payment and if it's next door and if it's vacant. So what we're saying is, notice how now on the right-hand side, specialized nonprofit is a nonprofit. It is a 501c3 that slides in place of any other nonprofit to give the donor the tax deduction they're looking for and to facilitate the real estate, because that's what they do. And then they grant the money to the nonprofit the donor wants to have it, which is what all of this is saying. So they can accept real estate of any kind from anywhere, take on all financial responsibility. They convert the asset into cash and they grant the money to the nonprofit world. It is that simple. It is that simple. And we have a church that we're working with in Sacramento, California right now. And one of their boards said to me last week, she said, well, Cammie, we've invested to do this campaign with you, but I've heard that any nonprofit can bring you a gift of real estate and have it facilitated. Why did we pay you? And I said, you most definitely, anybody can bring a gift of real estate, we'll facilitate it. I said, you hired us to help you find the gift of real estate, to help you ferret it out of your donor list, from your community, of all those 350 nonprofits that you've granted $200 to $2,000 in the last 10 years. We're educating all of them together to find the gift to begin with. That's what you're investing in. So just FYI, that's how that works. So the ROC team of experts, that specialized nonprofit, now we're going to be reiterating what we've said a couple of times, but it's so important because you're checking your texting right now, you're scrolling through TikTok, you're answering a phone call, you're going potty, you're having lunch. You've missed some of this. So let's say it again. Specialized nonprofit exclusively accepts gifts of real estate. That is their mission. They provide the donor the tax benefits. They are a 501c3. They absorb the title and financial risk. This is why this is risk-free for any nonprofit that you love. They work with the brokerage community to sell the real estate and give a full commission to the realtor. This is important because you can get the realtors to work with you, because you're not asking them to make a donation. You're not asking them to do it for a discount. You're showing them that they can get paid to do this. And then when it's all said and done and the listing's been liquidated, they grant the bulk of the proceeds to the nonprofit world. Now, we say 90 to 98% because it's a sliding scale. It depends on how much is going into the receiving of the real estate. It could be a deal where they have no money out of pocket. They're just taking title, giving the tax deduction, turning around, it's closed in 45 days, done deal. It could be that they're paying off a mortgage and putting on a roof and they got 6 months of holding cost. But the moral of the story, we know specialized nonprofits, now hold on to your hat, and hear me clear, there are specialized nonprofits who do this for as much as 85% in their pocket, meaning the nonprofit world keeps 15%. Horrible raping and pillaging. I'm just going to say it, shame on them. We know some that do it for 50%. I know a couple that do it for 20%. This specific specialized nonprofit, 10% or less. In some cases, way less. Okay, the awakening is what Dr. Russell James is calling this, because nonprofits are starting to wake up. Oh gosh, cash is only 3% of what people have. There's all this wealth in real estate. Light bulbs are going off over their heads. They're starting to ask for real estate. Non-cash versus cash gifts. He has done the research, friends. He and his team read 1 million tax returns from 200,000 nonprofits over a 5-year period, and they have proven that when your nonprofit is benefiting from non-cash assets, you grow at 6 times the rate of those that only accept cash. And he wrote the foreword for our book, by the way. You've got to go get that copy of it. It's free. Donors give 3 to 7 times more. Jackie Franey at the Nature Conservancy, she has been quoted a lot about gifts of real estate. And she just puts it a little bit differently. Notice these numbers are always kind of sort of the same. 6 times, Dr. James has proven. 3 to 7 times more from the same donors, Jackie has pointed out. And then we got our guy over here, Matt. Oop. How did that? Clicked on the wrong thing. No additional donors are needed, is what this gentleman, Matt, at the University of Oregon says. Now, these quotes came before the real agents of change were on the scene, and more donors can be found for your nonprofit with gifts of real estate. But the point is, where do you find them? Same people who already care about your nonprofit. That's where. So do what you do best and refer the rest. Please know that as I am teaching this class today that was put together with the specialized nonprofit, we do not want you to go try to explain this. We do not want you to try to explain the tax benefits. We do not want you to try to answer people's questions. Do what you do best and refer the rest to the experts who do it. So the nonprofit world, look what nonprofits do best. They promote their cause. Right? Kim and Brian are promoting their cause. They have a media company and they want to help animals. They've got other causes that they care about too. Their job is to promote their cause, to elevate all the emotional connections, and they actually create really professional videos, commercial style videos, or not commercial style, but commercial grade, and documentaries and things, emotional connection. All we want them to do is share the benefits of non-cash gifts and start asking for gifts of real estate, not to take the gift of real estate, but to benefit from the proceeds, just like credit cards. Their nonprofit does not process credit cards. Your nonprofit does not process credit cards. You have a third party that does that. Same thing here. Now you have a third party that processes real estate. It's that simple. Now the specialized nonprofit, what do? They accept, fix, and sell the real estate to grant the money to your nonprofit. They intervene. They slide into the nonprofit position. They provide the resources, meaning they're the ones that are paying off mortgages and fixing the roof and hiring the realtor and holding costs and all that stuff. Man, are some of these gifts complex. Watch those case studies. Watch the case studies. Watch, instead of TikTok, go to our YouTube channel or go to that link and watch the case studies. See over and over different types of real estate. You'll see how complicated some of them are, but they make it sound so simple because that's what they do for a living. And then they grant the bulk of the gift to the nonprofit world. Now, what we do, the Real Agents of Change, we help with the systems and the scripts and the support and the social media and the strategy and who to talk to, what to say, how to say it. And now, specifically, the donate real estate button and the landing page and the opt-ins and all that fun stuff that we've created. Now let's just sit with this for a second. Do you recognize any of these logos? I'm guessing you do. Probably the majority of them, maybe even all of them or most of them anyway. You see, these are nonprofits who do exactly what we are suggesting for you to do. They don't have real estate departments. They don't have attorneys on retainer to handle their real estate transactions. They don't take title, but every one of them has received the proceeds from a gift of real estate that a donor designated on their behalf that was handled by a specialized nonprofit. And Fidelity Charitables is the largest nonprofit in this country. They manage $13 billion. And even they don't have their own real estate team. They use the same specialized nonprofit that we do. All these colleges and public radio and public TV and universities and churches and soup kitchens and none of these have a real estate department. What they have is the wherewithal to tell people, hey, Bill, thank you for the $50 donation at the last bake sale. Every dollar counts. Just want you to know we can benefit from real estate too. And the next thing you know, they've got a gift of real estate. That's how simple it is. This is another example. The move is driven by a $15 million donation thanks to the gift of real estate. See, these things are happening all over. We just haven't been aware of it. We just haven't been noticing, but now we will. Now we'll start to notice. This is one of our favorite stories because this really shares and explains exactly how this works. So, in December of 21, a property owner had 12 vacant lots in California. And he reached out to the specialized nonprofit and said, hey, it's December 10th. I need a tax deduction in the worst way. I was told that you might be able to facilitate this. Can you do it? And because they didn't have to go through board meetings or figuring it out, this is what they do from morning till night. They took title to that real estate and gave that donor his tax deduction. Then they sold the real estate. When it closed in April of 2022, a little over 400,000 went to Berkeley Humane Society. They weren't expecting it. They didn't know it was coming. They had no idea that this was even possible. They just about passed out and said, after 50 years in business, we had no idea this was possible. Can we get more of that? And the answer is yes. So friends, here's what they did. Hey, Mary. Hey, yeah, listen, this is Teresa over at Berkeley Humane Society. Hey, listen, thanks for the $100 donation at our last golf tournament. We really appreciate everything you do for the puppies. We know how much you care about them. Listen, the reason I'm calling you is because we have just recently learned that gifts of real estate can actually benefit this nonprofit. Now, you know me, I don't know anything about real estate, but what I do know is we've got an upcoming Q&A session, and I knew that you'd want to learn how this works. Second donation came in. Woman owned a house that her mother left to her. It was in a 55 and older community in Carmel, California. She was well off. She didn't need it. She didn't want it. She was paying taxes on it and insurance. It was frankly a blessing to her. She didn't know what to do with it. She didn't want to put money into it. It was just a burden. As Jim Wooten would say, turn the burden into a blessing. When that property sold in August, they got another $600,000. Now, friends, this is how this works. One nonprofit, 2 donations, 6-month period, over $1 million, because we are not asking our friends to buy another $50 raffle ticket or even donate a car with a $1,500 or a $5,000 value. We're talking about 43% of the wealth in this country held in real estate. Whole different ball game. Now, this is another kind of subsection of this section. When we get done with this part, we'll take another break. This is exactly why the specialized nonprofits were created. Get a sip of coffee. You see, our wealth in this country, whether you make 20,000 a year or 20 million a year, 3% on average of your wealth is available in cash, in pocket change, in your checking account. Other assets, 54%. Real estate is 43% of the wealth in this country. But when it comes to gifts to the nonprofit world, $474 billion a year, 90% of that $474 billion a year is in cash. Only 2% comes from real estate. So $474 billion a year, and it's the same for the last couple of years, give or take $1 billion. 90% is coming from pocket change of 3%, and only 2% is coming from the 43% of wealth in real estate. So that's only 2% of what the nonprofit world is bringing in. Experts like Realty Gift Fund, like Dr. Russell James, like Cammie C.E. Baker, like Jim Wooten, all these people that are experts in this industry say that that lousy 2% can go to a lousy 6.5% with a little bit of education. And here's what that turns into. Instead of $9 billion a year, what if we were bringing in $29 billion a year in real estate? See, there is $20 billion a year that nonprofits are missing out on because people don't know what they don't know. And the fact is, when real estate is donated, the only way to pull the equity out of it, now granted, some of it is going to be like the Scott Dawson building, where it was donated and he kept that title. He wanted that building. But the majority of it, now that we're educating, that 20 billion, it's got to be sold to pull the equity to give to the nonprofit world. And this is exactly why this class was created, because originally we created this class to educate realtors so that they could bring it to their church and their veteran group and their animal rescue league, etc. But after the first year, we realized, wow, this isn't just education for realtors. This is educating the nonprofits. This is educating the fundraisers and the property owners themselves and all those financial advisors that are clueless about how this works. This is the opportunity we're talking about here. To leverage charitable real estate as a recruiting tool. If you do have a real estate office, you can recruit more agents. If you're a nonprofit, this is a great way to recruit more donors. It's a unique sales proposition. It is a way for everyone to make money and make a difference. It is that business development campaign. And Gene Frederick, if you don't know who he is the granddaddy of eXp Realty, meaning of their 80,000 realtors or so that they have now, he overrides about 80% of those. And I went to Puerto Rico, actually, Bruce and his wife and I went down, we met with Gene Frederick back in the spring of 21. And there's an interview that I did with Gene, therock.com/EXP. Now, keep in mind how we spell The Rock, RAOC, stands for Real Agent of Change. But we did an interview with him, and just another example of what we're up to here. So let me take a quick break and see if anyone has any questions. Just feel free to unmute
Hey,
yourself.
Cami, it's Brian.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Thanks for putting this on. It's quite enlightening, very educational, and you know, Kimberly's been talking with me about it. As you know, we balance a lot with conscious content, our for-profit, and Conscious Humanity, our non-for-profit. And you know, one of the reasons we created the nonprofit is because the work we do really, I would prefer not to be focused primarily on profit making, because the goal is to bring awareness and education to these topics that matter so much right now, like mental health and animal welfare. So I see the long-term benefit in this, in getting educated and partnering with, you know, a specialized nonprofit. I guess my next question, and you've been talking with Kimberly about this, is how do we partner up to create teams to do things? Because we're doing things on a national and a global basis, right? And Kimberly mentioned earlier, we just don't have the time to balance it all. But if we're bringing awareness and education to help people on a national or global basis, and we're reaching out currently to family offices, and we're just trying to balance it all. How do we create a team to where everybody benefits and we're able to bring our message to the world, which then makes the world a better place? And so it's exciting. And I'm taking quite a few notes, Cami. I'm excited to see what the next step might be on this, but I just wanted to say hello and start that conversation.
Well, thank you for that, Brian. And I'm actually, because of your question, very poignant question, and it's really at the top of everyone's mind. This is all well and good, Cami, but what the hell do we do with it? How do we find the real estate? How do we bring all these people together? So I'm going to veer off course for just a minute. I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to show this donate real estate button. I'm going to show you an example of one that we have, and I'm going to talk to you about how to do exactly what you just said, Brian. Because as we say, you can have the cure to cancer, but if nobody knows, you're not curing them. You can have the cure to being able to benefit from real estate, but if nobody knows, what difference does it make? Which is why key number 2 is lead generation. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now, this nonprofit is the one whose board I sit on, which is why it is the one that I show as an example. We've got a half dozen or so now that we've put together in the last 4 months or so. But as an example, donate button, 1.5 million nonprofits, everybody's got a donate button. Everybody's got that. We go to that donate button, we put in our credit card. Great. Here's what we've created is the donate real estate button. And I'm going to show you this real quick, Brian, and then I'm going to answer your question and we'll get back to the presentation, everybody. This is a great time to say this. When we click on the donate real estate button, now I'm going to use you as an example, Brian. You've got your beautiful content, conscious content, professional website. You've got a donate button. You've already got hundreds, if not thousands of people going there every month, and they may be giving you $5 here and $50 there. But now they start to see this. So when they click on the donate real estate button, this is what we've created as co-branding, keeping in mind that this red color and the umbrella and all this is this particular nonprofit's colors. But what we're doing is we are educating people that this is even possible. Because before we can even worry about how great the specialized nonprofit is, we got to find a gift of real estate. And we can't find it unless we tell people that it's possible. So on this landing page, I do a video with the nonprofit founder. In your case, Brian and Kim, we could do a beautiful professional commercial grade video to put on there. What we wanted, I want to take this off of your plate. Once this is on your website, guys, and we tell your board and we have some of your followers and funders and friends and supporters and sponsors come and learn about this, I take it from there, because here they sign up for a webinar, whether they watch a recorded version or one that we do for you. We've got 30-minute overviews where the people that love you come to learn about how this works. We've got other shorter videos where we break it down, Brian, to show people how this benefits the realtor, the financial advisor, etc. And the reason that's important for your question is, Cammie, how do we create this big tribe of people? They're going to support us and go find real estate while we're doing what we do. Well, we got to let them know how it benefits them. And I can teach them and train them all that. We put it on your website. We come further down, they can get this donate real estate ebook. They opt in to download that. They learn that it can be real estate from anywhere. People are very limited in their thinking. They think it has to be real estate in their backyard or next door. So we have to educate them on that. And right here where it says start your property donation today is where they can fill out a property evaluation form when they do have real estate to donate. So without staying on that page for any longer right at this moment, what we're suggesting is that the nonprofit world get that button and have that landing page and those opt-ins, and have me or Jeff Albee or any of the others that are coming in and learning about this do presentations to teach people how this works. Jessica Powers is going to end up being a presenter with me, whether she knows it or not. And Chris is working with Saad about how this works. So all these folks can present with you and for you, because ultimately they all benefit as well. Now, how to teach the financial advisors and realtors why they want to help find the real estate from anywhere in the country. We get into that a little bit later. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but that's one of the ways that we get started. On that note, what I'd like to do is I need to take a break. I need to just stop moving my mouth for a minute and have something to drink. So let's everybody take, it is 12:47. Let's just take like a 4-minute break and come back because we got a lot more information to go through. Keep the questions coming. And when we're done with this presentation at 2:00, I'll stay on for another hour if need be to answer questions. I'm respectful of all your time. I am happy to set up individual one-on-one conversations about your specific situation for your tribe. So be right back in 5 minutes. Thank you. All right, let's rock and roll. I'm going to share screen and jump right in. And if you have any questions, please feel free to just unmute yourself and ask me. I'm gonna bang through the next couple of sections, and yeah, here we go. Now, these are all the reasons why this is such a win-win-win for everyone involved. Let's talk about these donors for a minute. Why would donors want to donate real estate? Well, they are avoiding significant capital gains tax. Now, granted, in order to avoid the capital gains tax, they are giving potentially hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So not only do they need to have philanthropic intention, emotionally, spiritually, personally, but by the IRS tax code, they actually have to have in writing that this is philanthropic intention. They qualify for a tax deduction against their adjusted gross income. Can't wait to show you that at the end of section 5. When we talk about preserving their liquid assets for lifestyle, friends, when our nonprofit is asking people to buy a raffle ticket or to donate $100 or $500, sometimes that person has to decide, am I going to give $500 to my favorite nonprofit, or am I going to buy my own kids Christmas presents? Am I going to give $1,000, or am I going to take my own wife on a cruise? In other words, cash is competing for other things that we're using our cash for. When we shift to giving from the wealth bucket, cash conservative, asset abundant, that's a writer downer. Who are we looking for? People that are cash conservative, asset abundant. This eliminates a complex asset from their estate. Be clear. These people have assets that their children do not want. They don't want an office building in Birmingham. They don't want a hotel in Naples, Florida that was donated last year. They don't want a hospital in Miami. They don't want a car dealership in Detroit. They don't even want the condo in the 55 and older community. It gets rid of the complexity. It simplifies how the estate is being shared with the next generation. All right, let me just share with you the story of Linda Grable. This is one of my favorite stories because it leads to my tagline that I like to share. Everyone knows a Linda. Linda Grable was giving $25 a year for 32 years to the National Jewish Health Association. They have 300,000 donors. Linda was giving $25 a year. She was not at the top of the major gift list. But guys, she saw a presentation like this that educated her that she could donate real estate. Nobody was even asking her to donate real estate. She just learned about it herself. She had a cabin in the Poconos that her family had left to her decades ago. It had fallen into disrepair. When she drove 6 hours to go visit this thing, it was in such disrepair, she had to rent a hotel room to even go visit her own cabin. She donated it, and the fundraising professional, Kelly, told me that the main reason she donated it, she said, just take this off my hands. I don't want to put money into it. I don't want to hire a realtor. I don't want to deal with it. Just take it. Now, when that real estate was liquidated, it only produced $39,000 for that nonprofit. But friends, that would save a lot of animals. That would house a lot of veterans. And the reason that I love that story, you know Linda. She's in your phone. She's in your email list. She's on your social media. She volunteers at the soup kitchen with you. She sits next to you at church. She has given you $50. And Kelly, that fundraiser, told me, Cammie, Linda donated this property 3 years ago. Now, she doesn't give $25 a year. She gives $500 a year. Because Dr. James would tell you her mindset changed. Not pocket change anymore, asset. Cash conservative Linda was asset abundant. Now, donors can receive partial cash payment. We've already talked about that in our example. It is called a bargain sale. And let me help you with that. It took me a year to figure this out. When a nonprofit accepts a gift of real estate that has any money exchanging hands, mortgages paid off. In our example, it's a $5 million property, $1 million mortgage, $1 million in cash. So the nonprofit is acquiring a $5 million property for $2 million bargain. They are buying at a bargain sale. I don't like the term either. It sounds like bargain basement, but it's an IRS term. And whether the donor needs to pay off debt, they want the initial investment they made. Sometimes their CPA, their accountant says, well, you can only write off $3 million anyway. You might as well just put $1 million in your pocket. You're going to have to pay capital gains on it, but you can't write that off over the next 5 years. So you might as well take it. Well, then they can do that. They can tailor down how much they're donating. And this thing about replacement life insurance, the kids don't want that house. They want cash. So we show people how they can pull a couple $100,000 out, buy some life insurance policies. Little Billy, little Alice are happy, and the nonprofit world's happy. Everybody's happy. Now you might be thinking, okay, it's starting to make sense. There are benefits, but seriously, who are these unicorns of people that would donate real estate? Well, this couple donated $129 million worth of real estate to this community foundation a couple of years ago. Friends, there are people who love animals so much. They don't have the time to volunteer. They don't have the talent to run a nonprofit, but they have treasure. And that treasure is real estate. So 20% of people do it because it's a tax write-off. 80% of them do it because it's the right thing to do. They're a veteran. They want to help veterans. Their kid has autism and they want to help. They love animals and they want to help. So just remember, it is $9 billion a year. It's happening. It's just a matter of us letting people know it can happen for you. Now, either way, whether it's a tax deduction or makes their heart feel good, here's the beauty of it. They want to do it. They're grateful that you told them. And guess what? Birds of a feather, right? They're going to introduce you to other people who also have real estate to donate. They're eager to learn more. They will come to your overview. They will watch a video. They will download that donor ebook with your logo on it and share it with their financial advisor. They want to learn more. Why? Because they are cash conservative and they are asset abundant. And they need tax write-offs and they want to do the right thing. That's why. Now, where do you find them? Where do you find these donors? Well, you do. You already know them, and or you know people who know them. So they are on the donor list right this red hot minute. Whoever is going to conscious content and conscious humanity and all that fun stuff, there's a gift of real estate in there. There's one. There might be 10. There could be hundreds over the next 20 years, but there's at least one. We just have to let them know. So they're on the donor list. They're on the client list. Guys, financial advisors. Who else? Who else on this planet knows that their client is philanthropic and or needs a tax deduction? They're on those financial advisors list. They're in the center of influence. Realtors help people buy and sell real estate. They inherently know people that own real estate. They know people that need tax deductions. They are cash conservative, asset abundant. They are in your phone, on your social media. They are reading your emails and your texts. Friends, please do not prejudge. Do not assume what people will or won't do. Brian, how do you find people to build this tribe of foot soldiers that will help fund your nonprofit from gifts of real estate? By having a 30-minute overview for your board members and your top supporters. And I come and show them how this works. And with all of you together, especially you with your media company and the high level people that are on your board and supporting you, there's a million social media, email, Rolodex people that they and you could reach collectively. That is how we do it. But we can't do it if we just put it on the website and sit back and wait for something to happen. We just have to tell people. And don't worry, this is not a part-time job for you. You put me in front of a handful of your folks, and I'll go play with them while you go do what you do best. That's what we do. Okay, nonprofits. Here's some benefits for the nonprofit world. Now, remember, these are benefits when a third party is doing the transaction, not if the nonprofit's trying to figure this out and do it on their own. So, avoiding risk and liability, yes, when you have a third party doing it. I don't know if you're doing it on your own, but let's avoid that risk. Let's embrace the donor's best interest. They want to donate real estate when they know that it is an option and when it fits their needs. They don't know what they don't know. But listen, your donors are on 10 other donor lists. Don't think that yours is the only nonprofit that they donate to. They're philanthropic. They're helping a lot. And whoever lets them know, that's who's going to get it. That's who's going to get the gift of real estate. So let's strengthen those relationships, just like Linda. Linda now gives more cash. Dr. James would tell you, you can grow your endowment at 6 times the rate from non-cash assets. We already heard from Jackie Franey at the Nature Conservancy. Guys, this is why this benefits the nonprofit, because these gifts are in your donor list. You've just never asked for them before. And I understand why. We understand why you haven't. It's been scary and risky, but it doesn't have to be anymore. Mackenzie Scott, God knows every time I see her, I think, man, did she marry well? She is one of the biggest philanthropists on the planet right now, giving money away hand over fist. Donated 2 houses totaling $55 million. These are the palatial estates that she donated. See, this isn't a gas station with tumbleweeds. These are people that are cash conservative, asset abundant. Let's talk about these advisors. How do we build this big tribe of people to help us? Man, we got to let them know how they can benefit. So, for example, real estate brokers, look, real estate brokers want to meet wealthy people who own multiple properties. They want to get paid a full commission, and they want to get a lot of commissions, and they want to be seen in their community as the hero that their community needs, because then other people will hire them too. That's what they want. Let's give them what they want. Let's give them that full commission. Wealth managers, guys, hard asset of real estate. They can't make money off real estate. When we show them how they can liquidate a hard asset and move it into their assets under management, we teach them how to make fees off of that money. They want to know about that. Preserve the next generation of clients. So if a financial advisor has John and Mary clients, they're in their 80s, they've got little Billy and little Alice. Little Billy and little Alice might move to a younger, hipper financial advisor. But if John and Mary have condensed all their assets and wealth into a donor advised fund that they leave to little Billy and Alice, it helps that financial advisor maintain them as clients. Ultimately, any and all of these folks, including the nonprofits and the fundraising professionals, can become certified and show up as people who actually care about the community and become proactive. So we teach them and we show them how to leverage this as a business development tool that attracts 87% of their marketplace. Cash conservative, asset abundant. Social responsibility. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. I'm just going to bang these numbers up. But suffice it to say that the research has been done. Consumers, customers, and clients will choose the company, the product, and the service providers that are socially impactful. Millennials won't even work for a company that's not socially impactful. I always think of Starkist tuna. Back in the 90s, they put Dolphin Safe on their tuna can. They sold more because they were socially impactful. They made more money because they were socially impactful. And all these consumers, I remember it, I was one of them. You better buy Starkist. They're saving the dolphins. Whether that was true or not, that was the impression we all had. So people were helping to promote and sell the tuna for them for free. And that number at the bottom, 87% of consumers will purchase a product because the company stood up and advocated. And what we're saying here, friends, instead of a company choosing just veterans or just animals or just this animal rescue league or just that church or just that human trafficking group, what we're saying is, what if we're all part of a campaign, an awareness campaign that any and all of them can benefit from gifts of real estate? Are you starting to see the magnitude of what we're talking about here? When we're talking about conscious content and media and letting people know how this works, it benefits your nonprofit, but it also benefits all nonprofits. And there's actually a way for you to get a percentage of gifts that are coming in for other nonprofits that came in through your portal. So that's the end of that section. I'm going to go ahead and get on into the next section. And I know that this is kind of a boring topic. I'm not going to lie. It's about financial advisors, but it is important to answer the question, why would financial advisors want to partner with us on this? Why are they bringing 65% of these gifts to the table? And what is a donor advised fund? Now, I didn't even know what a donor advised fund was 4 years ago, and it took a year before we put this in to this class. But let me just give you some quick schooling on this. And I know that one of the questions that's going to come up is, Cammie, where do we find these people who have these donor advised funds? You're telling us there's hundreds of millions and billions of dollars right now in donor advised funds, that the only thing that can be done with those funds is it has to go to nonprofit. It has to be donated to 501c3 or 508. How do I get a list of these people? You know them. You know these people. So let's talk about it. So a donor advised fund is an investment fund that's administered by a qualified sponsor. Fidelity Charitables, Schwab, Vanguard. We got a list in just a minute. It's funded by the donor advised fund. So the donor can put proceeds from a gift of real estate one time, or 10 or 20 or 100 pieces of real estate, or cryptocurrency, or however they want to put it in there. It entitles the donor to a tax deduction right this red hot minute. So people have said to me, well, I don't even know where, I could use a tax deduction, but I don't even know what nonprofit I would give it to. Or I love my church. I don't really know if they would know what to do with $500,000 at one whack. People can donate this real estate the way that we do it, through the specialized nonprofit. And when it has been facilitated and they've got $500,000 in proceeds, they can park it in a donor advised fund. They got their tax deduction. It's now growing tax free, and they can grant out 1,000 here, 5,000 there. They can give it all at one time. They can watch it grow and leave it to their kids to give away. The donor can make periodic grants to other nonprofits, however they want to donate it, as long as it's going to nonprofit. Any size, any time, anonymously. And believe it or not, there are people that would donate a big chunk like this, but they don't want people to know it's them, especially when it comes to churches or people that they know really well. If they're sitting in the pew next to somebody every Sunday for the last 20 years, maybe they don't want the church to know that they had a second home in the Poconos. Maybe they don't want people to know, so it can be anonymous as well. Donor advice fund. Financial advisor can retain the next generation of clients. This is really big for them because look, when John and Mary pass away, they got to go get another new client. But the way this works, when they finagle the bagel, they can keep those kids as clients. We get into this more in other training. Financial advisor can earn fees on a donor advice fund. So they can't make any money on somebody's real estate, but when the real estate's liquidated and it's put into a donor advice fund, and they can make 1% or 1.5% or whatever it is every year, they like that. And for those of you who are nonprofits, there are ways to finagle this bagel for you too. So don't think, well, gosh, we don't want money going in a donor advice fund. We want it going in our account. I get it, but there's a lot of ways that this can benefit you too. Convert that hard asset into AUM. That's a rider downer. If you've never heard of assets under management or AUM, just imagine you're out at a networking event tonight or next week. You meet somebody that's a financial advisor. You can say to them, interesting. I work with financial advisors and help them double their assets under management. Perhaps we should talk about that. Guys, just by saying that, you're going to get their attention. Now you stand out and you're different than any other nonprofit or realtor or whoever that they meet. So they can earn fees on these assets under management. Now, these are some of the names of these donor advice funds. Fidelity, I would say at least 40% of the case studies that you'll see with our specialized nonprofit of choice come from Fidelity Charitables, because they don't want to handle their own real estate either. They refer. And their people that they refer are cash conservative, asset abundant, wealthy, multiple property owners, all the people that you want to know too. So these are just some of the names that you might recognize that are commercial donor advice funds. And the moral of the story is, even the donor advice funds do not accept their own real estate. Even they use specialized nonprofits. So it's just another bullet in your holster, if you will, of knowing how to work this. And this is where some of the strategy comes in with working with me on how to bring this into your business model as well. Another example, not a gas station in the middle of nowhere. It is asset abundant individual that had a home. They were in their 70s, cannot take it to heaven. Kids don't want the house, donated it. I'm going to go ahead and jump on into this last section, and then I'm going to open it up for a couple of questions before we take a break, because this last section has got that side-by-side comparison that everybody asked for a couple of years, and we put in and everyone just loves. So what qualifies? Spoiler alert. It needs to have equity. It needs to be marketable, and it cannot be a timeshare. That's what qualifies. But let's give you some examples to kind of get the juices flowing of where and what people might donate. So, for example, it can be residential. It can be a primary residence for sure. That's what that last house was, primary home, Could be a second home, like Linda had that second home in the Poconos that her family had used for decades. Could be any kind of single family investment property, could be a beachfront or a 55 and older community or what have you. Whew. Neiman Marcus. Neiman Marcus, 500 million square feet of commercial. Damn, there's a lot of donations in there. Could be a multifamily, 4, 5, 8, 10, 20, 100 unit. Could be partial ownership of a giant multifamily. Could be partial ownership of a winery. Could be partial ownership of a dentist office. These are all case studies in that link that I was showing you earlier. Office buildings, strip malls, restaurants, hospitals, anything. Land could be 1,000 acres in the middle of Wisconsin or Wyoming or Texas. Could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be close to you. It doesn't have anything to do with you. As a matter of fact, you are so far removed, if you're a nonprofit, that you don't even need to know the address of the property. That's how far removed you are from the risk and the responsibility of that real estate. Farms and ranches, there's a couple of examples of those in that list. No timeshares by the IRS tax code, that's just not real property. Now, it needs to be owned for at least 12 months for the capital gains tax portion to kick in the way the IRS designates that. Marketability. So if a property is not sellable, let's just say that right this red hot minute it's not sellable because maybe the property owner won't reduce the price. But if they knew that they could write off the appraised value, regardless of what it sells for, they might donate it, and then the specialized nonprofit might reduce the price, and that makes it marketable. It might be that right now it's not marketable because there is contamination on the property. There's this big oil tank there, and it's not marketable because they can't sell it. But now the specialized nonprofit says, oh, well, gosh, if we put $300,000 into it to remove that, it would be sellable. So marketability can shift with ownership and situation. Now, we're looking for a minimum equity of $250,000. I have found resources where it could be a $50,000 piece of property. And specialized nonprofits that we work with could want to take on a smaller piece just to build a relationship with you or with that donor. But just suffice it to say, usually the equity needs to be that $250,000. Now, keep in mind that the average donation is $600,000. So it's not unheard of to, in other words, it's not that big of a deal to hit that minimum. Just know that that's the minimum that we're looking for. Maximum could be anything, 10 million, 100 million. Look, these office buildings, skyscrapers, places that are vacant right now that could be donated the way that they are and then rezoned and made into apartments or made into, inside agriculture. There's so many ways that this can play out. Now, let me just point this out. Properties that don't qualify. This is the kind of strategy that this girl can help you with. Example. There is a nonprofit that accepts gifts of real estate to conserve. They're a conservancy. They conserve land in a specific watershed area of the country. And about once a week, they are called about a piece of real estate that someone is wanting to donate. And for years, if it was in their watershed area and they could conserve it, they would take it. Anything else, they said, no, thank you. Nope, not interested. Don't need it. Doesn't fit our criteria. Thanks anyway. But they finally got smart, did their own research, found our specialized nonprofit of choice, and built a relationship. Specialized nonprofit introduces me to them, and I said, well, once a week you're getting a call. That's about 50 a year, and you're maybe keeping 5 of them. What do you do with the rest of them? Nothing. What am I going to do with that? Friends, anytime someone fills out that property valuation form on the opt-in that we create for you, anytime someone gets that donor ebook and is interested about how this works, if they own real estate and they have an interest in donating it, here's what we know. They own real estate and they will liquidate it. And even if there's not enough equity to make it a donation, even if it's not sellable right now, but a couple of tweaks would make it sellable. The point is, I told that nonprofit, I said, look, every one of those phone calls you receive, maybe not every one of them, some of them, they might be upside down, might be a short sale, but even that is a listing for a realtor. I said, you could be referring all of these property owners that want to sell to a realtor and getting a donation as a gift for making that referral. In other words, I showed them how they could bring in several tens of thousands a year just in referral fees to those realtors. Now, I'm not talking about a referral fee, commission, getting into, all the legalities of that. I'm talking about those realtors can be donating money to them for giving them these referrals. The point is, be creative. Creativity, strategy, that's what we bring to the game. So, what are the documents that are required to make a gift of real estate? Remember, do what you do best, refer the rest. We are not suggesting that you start doing all this paperwork. We do not want you to go out and be a CPA. We are not attorneys or CPAs. We're simply sharing with you all the details of how something like this goes down. Net gift estimate. Donor goes to your donate real estate button. They say, holy cow, I do have a piece of property. I wonder if it would qualify. They fill out the property valuation form. I get an email, you get an email. We meet with the donor. It is a good donation. We introduce them to the specialized nonprofit. They go through all the numbers, how much they're going to save on capital gain, who's going to get the money, blah, blah, blah. They create a net gift estimate. And on that net gift estimate, it says exactly how much is going to the nonprofit of choice, how much the specialized nonprofit is keeping as a donation for facilitating the gift. It's all right there. Now, the donation agreement and the bargain sale agreement, here's the difference. If a piece of real estate is 100% donated, here's the deed, here's the keys, here's the real estate. I don't want one red penny. It's free and clear. You have it. It is a donation of real estate. If any money exchanges hands, there's a mortgage, there's a tax lien, the donor wants cash in their pocket, any money at all, now it is a bargain sale because there is money being exchanged at a bargain for the property. Either way, there's an agreement. The disclosure agreement, same kind of disclosure you have in any other real estate transaction, disclosing, appraiser and who's involved and just, disclosure. All right, let's talk about the IRS forms. There's 2. The first one, the 8283, is signed by the appraiser, the donor, and the nonprofit that's receiving title, in our case, the specialized nonprofit, unless you want the property, and you can certainly take it. But when the property is donated, our scenario is we've got a $5 million house in California, $1 million mortgage, $1 million cash to the donor. This form is signed by the appraiser of that property, the donor of the property, and the nonprofit that accepted it. That's what goes to the IRS so that they know what tax consequences that donor has. Now, when the property sells, there's a second form that is only signed by the nonprofit that took title. And it's kind of a check and balance. meaning, okay, we said it appraised at 5 million and it actually sold for 4.8 or 4.5 or 5.2, whatever that is. So it's kind of the IRS's way of checking and making sure that we didn't say, well, it appraised at 5 million, but it sold for 2. Now, wherever the property is, the listing agreement, the purchase and sales in that state, it's kind of like an REO property or a relocation property from the perspective of all the documents are in that state that the property is located in. People used to ask, how do I know that my nonprofit is going to receive the proceeds? Cammie, I have a donor go to your property evaluation form. How do I know you're not just going to take it and run with it? Well, first of all, let's just say this is a real estate transaction. The specialized nonprofit that we work with does this for Fidelity Charitables and Vanguard. We've been doing this class now for 3 years. This is not fly by night. This is not, oh, look at that, we got a property, let's change our phone number and change our name. This is credible third party people who've been doing it for decades. And we've got all the documents in place to make sure that that doesn't happen. All right. Let me preface this example. I am not a CPA. I am not an accountant. I'm not an attorney. I have no business explaining this to you right now. The only reason I'm explaining it to you is because people want to know. They want to see it side by side. And frankly, even though I've explained this, oh, I don't know, 20 times now, I'm still just as bad at it now as I was the first time I did it. And I'm glad, because I want you to see this is not about you explaining all this stuff. Do what you do best, refer the rest. All this stuff gets explained to the donor and their financial advisor, etc., by the specialized nonprofit when the time comes. But I'm going to show you how it goes down. So on the left, we've got actual depreciation schedule, because we can ask what if this and what if that all day long. But this example is an actual net sheet side-by-side case study. So this is the depreciation schedule we're using. And left hand is when the property is sold, and then donation and tax deduction happens. The right hand side is it is donated first. Here we go. Now, right off the bat in our little blue box, first of all, the 7% closing cost, that $315,000 closing cost, that's going to be the same either way. But the difference is on the right-hand side, because the person donated it first, their tax deduction is based on the 4.5 million to begin with at the top. So they're able to actually write off the closing cost as part of their deduction. So notice on the left-hand side, because of the depreciation schedule we're using, they are giving to the federal government almost $1 million. There's $900,000 right there going to the government that is not going to the nonprofit and that they are not able to write off. Okay, we're all clear with that. Now we're going to talk about leverage. So on the left-hand side, we've paid our closing costs. We paid the government our capital gains and recapture tax, etc. So on the left-hand side, the actual donation is 3.3 million. On the right-hand side, the actual donation is 4.1 million because we did still have to pay the closing costs. So the nonprofit is getting that extra million more, 900,000 more. But the point of this red box is Because on the left-hand side, they're only writing off 3.3 versus 4.1 on the other side, they are receiving off of their adjusted gross income 1.5 million. So they're still getting a nice tax deduction of 1.5 million. But on the right-hand side, because they're writing off so much more as a gift, they're actually writing off 2 million. So the percentages on the right-hand side, this property, this $4.5 million property on the left-hand side has now a value of 4.8 because they are getting that extra value off of their adjusted gross income. But on the right-hand side, it's worth 6.2. That 29.7% increase is what I've been taught is called charitable leverage. That same property, because of the tax deductions, because the nonprofit world is getting so much more, is actually valued at 29.7% more than it was at only 4.5 million. Now, that's the best I can do. Side-by-side comparison of the financial benefit to the donor, keeping in mind, of course, they're still giving away millions of dollars here to save that money to the government. But for those people that are cash conservative and asset abundant and love the animals, or they are a veteran, or they love their church or the children or what have you, for them, this is a viable option. And Jim Wooten would tell you that in his 30 years, he'll go to a property owner and he'll show them something like this and offer to do a bargain sale so that they are donating a portion of that property. And he said, when it's all written out for them to see the numbers, 1 out of 3 big commercial property owners will donate a portion of the value of the property and do a bargain sale. Another example, Fidelity Charitables or Fidelity Investments actually donated a building to this university. And on that note, does anyone have a question? That's kind of the end of the meat and the potatoes. This next section, we're going to take a 5-minute break. And this next section is when I'm going to talk about the button and the different ways that we can help you to find gifts.
I'm gonna text her. I'm gonna text
That was
her.
weird. Right on time. It kicked me right
Looks
off.
like she's
And I'm
back.
back. We're
Thank you.
good. So for those of you who got
Saw
the
your message there, Brian, about your phone call.
for those of you who got the information and you're all good, thanks for coming. For those of you who want to see how we can help you to find the
Kim,
real
you're seeing
estate,
this before.
we will get into that in about 5 minutes. Do we have a question or two before I get into that and before we take a break? All right, let's
Cami,
take a,
your signal is cutting out badly.
I'm kind of at the mercy of it. Let me I'm going to turn off my computer or my my camera and see if that helps.
Sounds better now.
Okay, good. All right, let's take
That
a
sounds a
5
lot better.
All right, let's take a 5-minute break. It's 1:35 my time. Let's come back at 1:40 and I'll show you guys what we do to help find the gifts of real estate. Be back in 5 minutes. Okay, friends, just FYI, I have got a different internet connection now, and I went from 2 bars to 5, so we should be good. My friend Chris has to go. Chris, welcome to the tribe. I look forward to helping you with your gifts of real estate with this beautiful nonprofit. I will take care of, is it Sod? You're muted, sweetie.
Yeah, sad.
Sod. Okay, great.
Thank
Glad
you.
you're staying with us. Okay, we got another 15 minutes of explaining how this whole thing works. And then we'll open up for questions and I'll stay as long as need be. So let me share the screen and we're going to get this wrapped up for you. Okay, so we talk about at this point, choose your path. We're going to assume, which we should never assume, but we're going to assume that because you're still here with us, that you can see, oh, wow, there's a huge magnitude here. And yeah, I'll go talk to people, but I'm not really sure what to say or how to say it. And I don't have the capacity to put together a button or whatever. So let's show you what all this looks like. Now, this is Dr. James. I implore you, go to LinkedIn and look up Dr. Russell James, send him a message. He is super engaging. Tell him Cammie Baker and the Real Agents of Change sent you. He will send you a list of webinars and presentations and books and documentation and research on how all this stuff works. You are more than what, and these are the kinds of resources and relationships that we bring to the table. So I love that he, with his credibility, can say that, you know, numbers aren't the problem. It is what it is. The disease, in his words, are the inertia and the fear. And the cure is the book and or our system and how we help people to actually take action. So let's start with the free stuff. Let's get you some free stuff. And guys, if you don't look, therock.com/nonprofit kit. If you won't even go there to get your free stuff, I don't know how else we can help you. So at that link, we've got a list of the top 10 ways to tap the untapped asset. We've got website copy that you can copy and paste and put on your website. And by the way, AI, Chat GPT, you can Chat GPT charitable real estate all you want, but it does not know how to explain this, not how we do it. So you really need that from us. Now in 6 months, when hundreds of you have this all over your websites with The Rock, it'll be able to figure it out. But right now, you got to get from here. The roadmap, I'm going to show you what that looks like at the end of this slide. You'll see what we're talking about with the roadmap. It's 5 steps on a map as to how this works. We made the coolest little 30-second high energy video, not with me in it. It's more of a digital kind of commercial, if you will, that you can post today, educating people about charitable real estate. You have the ability to customize all this stuff. Now, this is all free. It's a $700 value for this stuff. I'm telling you, that website copy, that ain't no joke. So $700 value, free. Go get it. Now, for those who say, well, that's great, but I want to have my logo. I want to put my name and my phone number on it. Okay, great. Let's look at the template package. So for those of you who can go into Canva and get the template and put stuff in it, with this template package, you get social media templates. There's 3 video posts and messaging, 12 social media graphics and messaging. There's email templates to introduce your donors to this concept, invite your donors to learn more, follow up from your donors, attending gatherings, etc. Press release, release to the press that your nonprofit, your real estate company, your financial advisory firm is charitable real estate division in your area, hugely important. And then the roadmap, which I'm going to show you in just a second. Now, this is a $400 value to get these templates, and it's a $297 investment. Just today, we got this put on the website. So if you go to therock.com/store, you'll see that you can buy the templates for $297. Now, this is the roadmap. And it shows how easy it is to explain how this works. Now, we are not suggesting that from one masterclass, you just randomly throw this out to the world and try to explain it to people. That would be insane. But number one, gift of real estate's at the table. Whether they donated it for the right reasons or tax benefits, great, it's here. Number two, specialized nonprofit takes title and assumes all responsibility. Number three, they list it with a charitable real estate specialist. Number four, now that it's been liquidated, the money is granted to whatever nonprofit, multiple nonprofits that the donor wanted it to go to. Number five, what we're saying is, let's do a campaign. Let's let people know. Let's tell people. Let's do that press release. So this is the roadmap that we talk about. Now, if you're like me and you have no idea what to do with Canva and putting in logos and all that kind of stuff, we can do all that part for you. So this is where we get into the donate real estate packet, the button package. Now, all that stuff that I just talked about, all that social media and the emails and the press release, the roadmap, all that stuff can get customized for you. That's an $800 value just for that customization. And now is the second button, the donate real estate button, which includes the landing copy. I showed it to you earlier. I'm going to show it to you again in a minute. You have your own, therock.com/lift, LIFT is one of the packages we have for a disability group. therock.com/SLC is a church that we're working with right now. So whatever that would be for you. Opt-ins for the donor ebook. Now there's two. There's a custom one and there's one that's not custom. The donor ebook is something that I have been suggesting for 3 years, and no one would make it for themselves. Marketing companies I talked to wouldn't make it. So we made it. My team, my partner, fabulous job with that donor ebook. Opt-in, that contact form for people to fill out about the property that I get an email and you get an email. That's part of this package, property evaluation form itself and the ability to use it as an opt-in. Now, CKM is the landing page I was showing you earlier. This is what it looks like on your phone. So their actual website is bepreparedbeready.org. But you'll notice the donate real estate button comes up right on top. And that's what we would suggest that you do. Now, this is the donor ebook. The one on the right is The Rock only. The one on the left is co-branded with whatever colors your nonprofit and logo would be. Now, we have to set up and host and manage that landing page and the opt-ins and donor ebook and all that fun stuff. That's a $500 value to keep all that in check. What we have done is it's a $500 value to get all that set up. On the anniversary of you having this package, it's $197 a year to continue managing that hosted stuff. I'm not using the right words, right? Remember, do what you do best and refer the rest. I refer that to my team. But over time, it's going to be more than that. But we grandfather anyone in who's doing it with us right now at $197 a year after. All right. With this simple package, I need to work with you and your board and your sponsors, your business people that want to play with you, etc. Let's do a 1-hour Zoom. Let's talk about the marketing materials. Let's come up with a personalized script. It's probably going to be more than an hour if people are coachable and engaged. Let's role play. Who to talk to, what to say, how to say it. Let's talk about what is the plan, the strategy that you want to get this thing rocking and rolling. Here's a couple of bonuses. Now, you may remember that I mentioned we have a certification program. If you're going to have a donate real estate button on your website, somebody at your organization needs to have a clue how this works. And they need to come to the masterclass and they need to get certified so that if someone is asking at your fundraisers, at your office, how this works, that you can speak intelligently about it. So if all somebody wants to do is get certified, great. Go to the store, pay the $400, take the test, get certified. You can use our trademarks and logos. You'll go on the website, all that stuff, just to get certified. With this package, we throw in one person. So it's a $400 value to get that person certified for you. And we have a huge library of something called the Champions, which is also on our website. That's a $9.97 value. It is imperative that anyone who's going to work with me go through those videos. They're fun. They're not that long, 3 minutes, maybe some of them are 7 or 8 minutes. But the Champion package really helps you to understand the mindset, who to talk to, what to say, and how to say it. That's all a bonus with this package. So the Donate Real Estate Button package is the value of $5,000 plus, and it's a $19.97 investment. So if you want to donate real estate button and the basics that goes with it, $19.97. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is the custom cause marketing campaign. This is qualify only. I am not doing the guy, Chris, that was just with us. He and I had a conversation last week and I chatted with him. I said, I am not working with people that are negative and shitty anymore. I'm only working with people who want to actually bring this to the world and be coachable and fun. I said, you qualify. I said, come to the master class. And so he did. So here's what this looks like. Now, everything we've been talking about, the templates, you can have all that stuff. You can play with that all that you want. All that stuff we just talked about with the Donate Real Estate Button package, all that $5,300 worth of stuff, that's all included in this. Now we're going to add to the table a video with you and I on your landing page that has been professionally edited, preferably a few little videos that go on there. Now we're going to customize that donor ebook with your logo and colors and all that fun stuff. Now we're going to add 6 weeks worth of emails for you to use to follow up. So when people opt in to get that donor ebook, send them something every week for 6 weeks. Case studies, different videos and things from our Q&As, reminders about upcoming 101 overviews that we're doing, etc. So 6 weeks worth of follow-up that's already been done for you. That's a $300 value. Also, 6 weeks of personal training with me. So instead of one time, let's get 6 of them in there so that we are bringing all of your people together to understand how this works and creating that plan of action and creating scripts and role playing together. And friends, oh my God, this is so needed. It is so necessary. People think, Cammie, all we need is the button. Give us the button in the landing page. We got this. But I'm telling you, if you haven't role played, if you haven't gotten the basics of how to talk about this, you're not going to talk to anybody. And frankly, I'm not going to put our name out there on the landing page if we're all clueless about how this works. So we want to help you to learn how to position and partner and promote with the realtors and the financial advisors and the insurance company and the car dealership and do the social impact campaign that we can do together. Now, this stuff is absolutely imperative. So let me tell you what this is. We do 30-minute overviews from different perspectives. When we're talking to nonprofits, that is different words than when we're speaking directly to realtors. Then if we're speaking directly to donors, then if we're speaking to businesses about corporate social responsibility, or if we're doing a 30-minute general Q&A overview. In other words, when we're talking about a custom cause marketing, which means marketing a business with causes in mind, leveraging, bringing for-profit and nonprofit together, we want to do these for you live. And of course, we're going to record them, give you the recordings that you can use anytime. But friends, we'll create the email, we'll create the Zoom banner, we'll create some social media invites, we'll give you the wording, but it's your tribe, it is your board, it is your donors, it is your following that needs to come and learn about this. That's your part in all of this. So we'll create this whole thing and give you follow-up emails for the events that we're doing and the recordings and a library of them that you can use forevermore. And that's a $2,500 value. So once again, this is what CKM's website looks like. They're on the phone. This is what the donor ebook looks like. Now we're talking about the one on the left that's custom. Here's some examples of some of the social media that comes with this package. Now this is the ones for CKM. Of course, they got their red colors. This is all about crisis management. Yours would be about animals or veterans or the environment or a church. These are some other examples of some of the stuff that we've created for different clients over the years, just to give you an idea of what's included in this package. And let me tell you what the bonuses are, and we're going to wrap up. In November, there is something called Giving Tuesday that most nonprofits have their hand out for cash. GoFundMe account. Give us money. It's the end of the year. Don't you need a tax deduction? Give us cash. What we do at the Real Agents of Change, we have a campaign called Giving the Gift of Choice, because we believe that nonprofits should have the choice. Do you just want pocket change as a focus, or do you want the ability to bring in major assets? We give choice to the donors. Do you want to just give cash, 3% of your wealth? Or are you asset abundant and would like to give from your real estate that you didn't even know that you could for this nonprofit? We give the gift of choice to the sponsors. Your sponsor who's given you $5,000 to be on a brochure for the next boring golf tournament, when that golf tournament's done, that pamphlet is going in the trash, and shame on you. You took their money and you didn't even help promote them as a sponsor. Sure, they were on the brochure for 6 weeks. We are saying, look, instead of just sponsoring an event, what if you supported a movement and actually got a return on your investment by working with us? So this bonus is $1,000 campaign of stuff that you get for free as part of this package, because we want you to give people the gift of choice. In April, we have List a Legacy Listing Month. This is going to be the third year in 2024 that we have been List a Legacy Listing Month. We've got a whole bunch of social media and emails and videos and things that come with this package as well as a bonus. Want you to participate in that. Bonus number 3, community collaboration, community foundation collaboration. Guys, there are 600 community foundations in this country. And last year, we were introduced to the elite of them. And we created a whole program around how to work with community foundations. Now, this is advanced. The speakers that we have, like Jim Wooten and Dr. Russell James and Rick Peck and a whole bunch of other people, that you may not recognize right now, but you will when you see these videos. This is all something that we were selling for $9.97 last year, and it's a bonus as well. And then bonus number 4 with this package is getting certified. Now, we could add a second one on here since it's already part of that other package, but we want to get somebody certified for you so that you have somebody intelligently speaking about this. So overall, this is a $16,000 value, and this is qualified only. I can tell you right now, there is a guy that works for a real estate company that you would know by name who has, I think, 16 offices, 1,700 agents, and I turned him down because I didn't like how he talked to me. Guys, life's got to be fun. It's got to be engaging. You got to spend time with people that you want to spend time with. The old paradigm of doing it just because you get paid is not what we do. So this is a $49.97 package that we can implement if you're qualified. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you one more time what the button looks like so that you're reminded a little bit about what we're talking about here. Now imagine this is now if you are a nonprofit, this is your nonprofit site. If you're a real estate agent, for example, we have a beautiful real estate agent on here. I don't know if he wants me to share his name or not, but he's a president of CCIM in this country, and he's invested to do this. And we are going to pick a nonprofit, and he's going to be the sponsor that is promoted when people come to the site. So donate real estate button. That person and I are going to be on the page, whether we're with the CEO of that nonprofit or however they want this to look, because it's all custom. We will have videos on here with him and I and those other folks. I'm going to teach him how to do the webinar, and he wants to be the speaker, and I want him to. This is not the Cammie Baker show. I'd love to have thousands of people doing these presentations. You don't need me. I'm priming the pump, right? And as that nonprofit has this beautiful website landing page, his information is going to be on this donor ebook. And every time people download it and print it and send it to another nonprofit or to a financial advisor or to another wealthy property owner, he's going to be on that donor ebook. And of course, when they click on this button to see if their property qualifies, I'm going to get an email. He's going to get an email. He's representing that nonprofit. He is commercial realtor. He will take a look at that and decide, is this something I want to handle? Do I want to refer it to someone? Is it residential that I can refer out? He can still get referral fees. So that is, in a nutshell, how it works. Questions, comments, hallucinations. If it's anything specific about how you can strategize, let's do that offline so that we're not taking other people's time. It's right at 3:02. Damn, I'm good. Got it done right at 2 o'clock. Question? Jay and Akala, I know that you guys are here with Jessica. Let's set up a Zoom, Jessica, or some kind of call later in the week or next week to follow up with these beautiful women. Saad, I get it. I'm so glad you were here. I'm glad you got to see what we're doing. I'll be speaking with Chris tomorrow. And
Yeah, this is actually the strategy that we've been using with our vehicle donation program. So I'm right on with what you said. I just have to work out some of the details with Chris and figure out what we can do for the next steps.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm going to mentor Chris and help him with this because
Okay, thanks.
people think, oh, I've got a realtor, they'll handle it.
Yeah, no.
He will.
Yeah, I know, but you're absolutely right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Hey, Cammie, I had another guest as well, Cherie, who couldn't stay the whole time, but will also want to set up time with you for a Q&A. And the legacy listings and those sort of initiatives are definitely on par with conversations we've been having and then creating our own ecosystem. So just gratitude for another great masterclass and opening up the idea of different possibilities. If Akala does, I noticed she was able to stay. So Akala, if you did have anything you'd like to add, you're more than welcome, but we can also set up another time.
Yeah, I did have to pop down to make some breakfast, so I missed about like 45 minutes of it, but I did come down at the end for kind of what it seemed like was the best thing. And as far as just like, oh wow, there's package, and like I don't know, I would love to definitely, yes, strategize, because I didn't realize that there was so much to this that I could possibly, you know, I'm a loan broker, I have my real estate license. I don't do anything with my real estate license other than pay fees. So it'd be great to do something with it, especially if it was going to be helping other people. And I also have a gift package company that I've been trying to link with nonprofits to be able to, you know, serve people who are in need of, you know, some positivity. So it seems like, Jessica, I appreciate you so much. You're always thinking of me. I love you. Thank you for introducing. And Cami, what
me
an
too.
awesome energy you have. Yeah, what an awesome energy you have. I'm so excited to know you, and I look forward to growing a relationship and learning more.
Yeah, we definitely need to have another call offline and discuss some strategies there. So guys, I at the end of one of these, I've been standing the whole time, and I get pretty drained by the end of it. So I'm going to respectfully just bow out, knowing that you can set up a call with me tomorrow or any time after that. So thank you for coming. Namaste. Peace and prosperity to all, and we will see you whenever that time is right. Thanks, everybody.